Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of October 11th, 2023, a date of marriage of 2003, and she's not familiar with contact type or energy level yet. She says, my husband is a sex addict. I knew this, but he had never crossed the line to actually acting out physically. After reading your content, I see that a lot of how he was acting looks a lot like midlife crisis. He started changing over the summer, saying things like, I don't respect him, or help him with his business, I don't care about him. I was so lost because the man was my world. He would post things like saying I was his world, but then say I was a horrible person and a bully. Things like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, and so on. Finally, he went out with someone from work when I was away for work in September. He left the older kids babysitting and told me he was going out to clear his mind. He ended up fooling or attempting to fool around with someone and supposedly ended it because he felt disappointed in what he had done. After I found out he's been going to 12-step programs and therapy. But I feel like I can't move on. How do I get out of this hole I'm in? Okay, so I'm going to answer the question rather than talk about midlife crisis because you have a very specific question. And midlife crisis or not, I don't know the other stuff he's saying, and maybe he's getting through this in therapy. Okay, so I'm going to address this as a betrayal and how you get out of the hole you're in. So 12-step programs, great. Therapy, awesome. But you said he's going, but you didn't say that you're going. Or you didn't say that you are going to counseling together. So the question that I have is why not? Because you're asking me how do I get out of the hole, but if you're not doing that, well, that is how you get out of the hole. You get professional help because it's above your pay grade. Getting through betrayal, especially when you have a history, you said, of he's a sex addict. You didn't say that you said he's never crossed the line until then. But there is a sex addiction. I'm assuming maybe that would be through porn then. Not sure. But that needs addressing because there's a history that goes with it. So this isn't this. You're not working to get over this one-time thing. It's this history because having a sex addict, there was always risk, right? You knew something. You said it. I knew this. I'm really glad he's going to 12-step programs. How does he feel? Is he working at making his amends? Has he gotten, what step is he on? I don't know enough about him other than I was discussing 12 steps earlier today, and I believe 9 is amends. I want him to do that in the order that he is being helped through with his mentor in the program. But therapy. Is he not in therapy with you? And I'm only assuming that because you didn't make it a statement. Because his therapist is trying to work him and get him ready for that? And has he said that? Because I want to know, I'm not saying if the therapist feels let's get you here first and then go to that step, okay. But other than that, the question is why aren't you? Or why hasn't it been discussed? Because you didn't, and I'm making assumptions because you didn't say it's been discussed. You get yourself into therapy. And for this, you get yourself into marriage counseling with him because this is a thing that you do together, this particular hole. Doesn't mean you don't need individual therapy as well, but this particular hole. So look for a therapist who does EFT, emotionally focused therapy. This was a therapeutic modality designed for healing from affairs. So this is what you're going to work with. Now, they may want you to do other things given the underlying sex addiction. But this kind of therapy focuses on how you heal from an affair. I'm not familiar with it specifically, what it does. I haven't been in that kind of therapy. But what I would want done, and what I think therapy, what we need done is helping the betrayer understand what happened, what has been ripped apart, destroyed. I'm trying to use some better words because I don't want them to be, oh no, destroyed. in you, in the betrayed partner. So what has been destroyed is trust, but not just the trust in I don't trust you. That's not what I'm talking about. Betrayal destroys your self-trust. So now you go out and don't know when someone is lying or not. Well, he lied to you for so long and I believed you, and then lied again and I believed it. Now I don't know how to detect when things are this. I'm broken. It breaks your ability. Or you may feel it has broken your ability. So you no longer trust in your ability to tell when somebody else is, or at least him, when he is being honest, credible. You just feel too vulnerable. And then that makes you paranoid. So understanding that for you, that's normal. Because I probably just described a lot of how you're feeling while you're in that hole. But he might not understand it. And so the healing, how long does it take? And it depends on the person, to heal that broken trust. There are a few things. And the person, your husband, could be doing everything perfect. And you don't give trust until if someone is not trustworthy, it is okay not to give your trust to them. But let's say he is being trustworthy. But let's say he has been being trustworthy. This happened in September. I'm not sure of everything on this timeline, but let's say he started being trustworthy, coming around, going to therapy in mid-October. And then 2 weeks later, but I don't feel trust yet. Well, it's only been 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks after that, I don't feel trust yet. And then he might get frustrated. I'm working so hard, but it's only been 4 weeks. Trust is earned through consistent behavior over and through time. So now it's been a few months. Still, big betrayal, and especially big betrayal with the addition of the underlying sex addiction. Okay. It takes longer than that. And the betraying partner does not want it to take longer than that because they want it to be over, because it's their guilt and it's continuing to weigh on them. She's broken because of me. She can't get through this because of me. I give up. Or I want to be mad because why can't she? I'm better now. And maybe that's true in the sense that they are sincere in everything. Understanding why you're not giving them the trust. Sometimes your trust is broken, your ability, that detector. And so you feel like but sometimes, and it's not their fault. If after, let's say, I'm going to give you a long time, 5 years, you're still having problems and they're being perfect about it. It's not their fault that you aren't extending trust. If your trust is broken and you've been working on it, they aren't in control of you. Okay, so let's take that. You are in control of what you can do with that. And I want you to, by taking control, you get the right therapy. You get the right help for yourself. What are the other things that have to go over? There are triggers. So maybe cell phones are a trigger for you. Maybe seeing him hold the cell phone and suddenly hide it. Not really that he's hiding it, but he puts it in his pocket. But to you, that reminds you of hiding. Or he seems like he's hiding something. Or just overuse of the cell phone, or just any use of a cell phone. Because that was the mechanism he maybe used to call somebody. Maybe seeing a motel receipt. Maybe driving by a motel that you knew he went to, if that was how it happened. Any of those. He left the older kids babysitting. Maybe there's issues that you have regarding what he did there. The safety that he put people in. What are the triggers that you have to face? And you might have some triggers that you aren't aware of until it happens. When I was a little kid, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and he told the story because I was like 5, so I had no clue. But we're at the store, and music came on, and it triggered him. And it didn't trigger him like bombs, that sort of thing. It just placed him back into when he heard that song before, and I think it was either on a military base or in Nam. And this one wasn't a PTSD shock trauma trigger. It was just, I think he said it was another state, because one of the Carolinas maybe he was stationed in. And he said this little kid walked up to him with, there's a couple times where I walked up to him with a TV dinner, so with something. Or I walked up and poked, Daddy, Daddy. And he didn't know who I was. For just probably a brief moment. So just minor triggers that you don't think of. will set you back. Send you. I don't mean set. They could set you back, but they will trigger a memory that could be an emotional memory tied to an emotion that is negative in this situation. And that's not anybody's fault. It's your body. That's how we're wired. I mean, it may be his fault what he did in the past, but him doing all the repairs doesn't mean he should now be punished for those triggers, but he doesn't understand that. And your emotions are suddenly up front and back where you were when you were betrayed. And so therapy can teach him how to help you with that and how to normalize it for him, that this is why it takes so long. But it can take a while, but we still get through it. We also then want the reassurance, the hope that we get through that. You get out of the hole by getting the therapy. And in this hole you're in, it's for both of you. If you're together, it's for both of you. Doesn't mean you don't do individual therapy. I would talk to somebody about what if you should also go to individual. But if you're repairing your marriage, if you're still together and you're staying together, which is awesome, you need to do some therapy together. Marriage counseling, EFT, emotionally focused therapy. And I believe it is Sue Johnson was the therapist who designed that modality. So when you go onto DocFind or whatever service you use, look for somebody who is, try not to say, they list all of their, we do this kind, I can do this. See if you can instead, I don't know how to do this because it doesn't work for me either. I just find the list and like, oh, how do I search deeper? If you can. If there's somebody who really specializes in infidelity. Again, somebody who has some background with sex addiction. That would be an additional bonus for you. And who specializes, especially. When I say specializes, I mean that's what they do. It's not that I've done this and I can do this and I'm trained in this, and they list 10 to 50 things. Well, I'm trained in this doesn't mean I do it, doesn't mean I specialize in it, doesn't mean I'm experienced in it. Experience with EFT, emotionally focused therapy. Okay? And I hope that helps. And I will see everybody else in the next question.